Hello, welcome everyone. Pretty amazing that I just came on here a few minutes ago. It's Ashala coming in from Canada here and found out that I'm leading the show. So I guess we're relaunching Soul Tribe and I'm just so delighted and honored to be here. Interesting, you know, I feel like you're kind of new tribe, some of you to me. So I just want to know a little bit about you. I mean, I know everybody else knows a lot about you, but I'm feeling like let's just check in about where we're at right now, each of us. And then we'll see where we want to go as a tribe today. Awesome. Tanya, you want to go first?
Sure. I just got in from mountain biking, so I'm all rosy cheeked. Getting out in nature and just moving some energy was really beautiful and felt really good. And yeah, I'm feeling great right now. So, but a lot more quiet time, no holiday pressure or stress allowed. It just is. And a few friends coming over and game playing and just connecting. And I'm really looking forward to it. The sun's shining here, which is quite a stark contrast from last year where we had a ton of snow.
Right?
Yeah. So the fact that I could go mountain biking was beautiful. So I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah, beautiful. Guys in the comments, please let us know how you're doing.
Yes, definitely.
Norma Jean.
Norma.
How's it going, everybody? I don't know about y'all, but I'm doing stupendously great here. I'm just like taking off. It's great because I'm getting to a point where I'm learning and mastering staying grounded while flying high. So that's been great. I've just been, it's like the more and more I come into the understanding of myself first and fall so in love with that, the more and more I take pleasure in gaining the knowledge and the understanding needed to help assist and guide me to hopefully master doing the same for others who are seeking that assistance, that guidance. So I'm doing just freaking tabulous.
Beautiful. Glad to hear it, Norma. Yay, I feel you. Yeah.
You wait for me to say something?
Yes.
How are you doing? How are you doing?
How you doing? Names, ladies. That's what I'm ready for. I'm all fired up and ready to go. Don't you worry about that one. But, it's another, great day in paradise. Okay, because whatever you intend, you manifest. So I intend to live in paradise at this point. It's all right.
Love it.
Now, Ashala, I've got some questions for you.
Perfect.
I get all these questions thrown, and they say, "Oh, isn't tarot bad? It doesn't go against God and all that sort of stuff." Because I cop it all the time. All right.
Yeah.
What's your take on it?
Good. Great question. And gosh, where to start with it? Well, basically, it's a tool. We all read from an alphabet, and we all know where that came from, or some of us know where that came from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And we all read different scriptures, and they came from all different sources. So I feel like, I always say it's not so much what you're using to interpret messages, to where you find your messages. I love tea leaf reading, by the way, and it's like, okay, I mean, if tea leaves are from the devil, then I don't know, right? It's like, So, but the whole idea is that it's where we're drawing divine inspiration from. So people can find it through prayer. People can find it through reading scriptures, through reading different books, literature throughout the ages, through going for a walk in the forest and seeing the sun shining through the trees and making a pattern and reminding them of something from their childhood or whatever. It's like it's the way that you approach it. So if you're in a state of love, if you're in a what I call the heart-centered, power neutral, aligned with the greater good of all state of love, whatever tool you're using is you're filtering through that source. So obviously, you know, just like any other tool, like writing or music or anything, it can be used for dark purposes. And people get really confused by the imagery. It's basically, I mean, tarot was a game that was created in Italy in the 1300s. It was an amalgamation of various different games, and it's been overlaid with different systems like, you know, Kabbalism. And we know that that has at its roots some nefarious organizations that have been part of, you know, steering and manipulating that, just like all the other organized religions. So it's really about how you're using this as a way to almost create your own kind of language or coded language with your creator.
Yes.
And if you approach it from that heart-centered, power-neutral place aligned with the greater good of all, which to me is like a bandwidth, then everything you're channeling through that bandwidth is going to be messages that are supportive for everyone. It's not about getting an advantage over something or someone. You know, people, I think the old-fashioned like back room with the fortune teller telling you know, all these secrets and what you need to know about the future so that you can have an advantage in your life over others, or, you know, have some kind of power over the future. It's not for that. It's really for knowing yourself, knowing where you're at right now, and all the options available to you so you can make really good conscious choices. So that's how I work with it.
Ashala, that is spot on. Basically, what it is it's a form like a conduit, a connection to source. Okay. And this is the thing. I mean, obviously, religion, which is an organized thing, right, is against it because obviously, you know, they want you to be part of their club, so to speak.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Right. To believe what they want you to believe. All right. To have control over you. All right. So obviously they don't want us knowing about, you know, being connected with God, source, whatever. They don't want that. They don't want that at all. They want you to go through the bricks, the bricks and mortar, the middleman, so to speak. All right? Totally. And also, who's been responsible in creating a bad name for tarot for people like that is Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
Hollywood's to blame because they portrayed in the dark little, you know, with the crystal balls and all that sort of rubbish, right? Making this is all satanic and stuff. Okay. You know, this is what I'm saying. It's all been done by the cabal, and it's been done by design because obviously they don't want you connected to source. It's all about not being connected to source.
That's right. And, you know, I'm trying to look for them. I'm having a hard time just finding them right now as I scroll through my deck here. But, you know, invariably, there's like about 3 or 4 cards out of 78 that have scary imagery on them. Yeah. And those are the ones those are the only ones you see in Hollywood. It's always the dark card, the hangman, which is actually the hanging person that's basically suspended, like they're in a yoga posture, and it's about, you know, receiving the alternative perspective on reality so that you can, in being sort of putting yourself in limbo so that you can learn something, getting out of harm's way. I mean, it's just, yeah. And then, of course, this guy, you know, this character, the devil character, these are, you know, I call this character the medicine man. He's temptation. He's the ego. He's, being sort of under the spell of materialism and weighed down by that. And if you study the imagery on the card, that's what it's suggesting. So I always say, if we came from another planet and we arrived on Earth and we went into a Christian church and saw an image of a man hanging from a cross with blood dripping from his hands and feet, we could say, wow, that's pretty demonic looking. Why are you worshiping this image of, it's like, because you don't have the story behind it. Like people are judging these cards. By the way, the other 72 or whatever, there might be 6 that are maybe a little bit scary, a couple that are pretty scary looking. The rest of them are so beautiful. They're all about self-development and peace and harmony and growth and, activation and courage and all these amazing things. And like, we're fixated on these couple of things that there's going to be some temptation. There's going to be some ego and some challenge in life, but it's a whole system.
But you don't worship the cards, do you?
Gosh, no.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
That's the difference, ladies and gents. I said ladies.
Yeah.
That's the big difference right there. This is the thing. I mean, tarot's had a bad name. Okay. And as I said, do we want to know what pagan religion is? It's worshiping idols. Yeah. Okay. And that's the thing. This is where people got to get. What are we doing? We're worshiping idols. And what about worshiping God? Worshiping God's source. We're going inside you and realizing that you have God within you. You have the chrism, you have the Christ all within you. That's what they say, only through Christ, because we got the Christ all through us. We've been anointed by God. This is the thing. People are always, waiting for the external to save them, waiting for the so-called Messiah to save them, where the Messiah is within them. That's what it is. Only with Christ can you, that's what I'm saying. It's all, to do with, how you use your words. And obviously the religion has manipulated that into something that they can have control over mankind. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm within the realms of, not going into the crack, Tanya, because I know she's going, don't you do it. I know you. What are you thinking, Tanya?
Go, Tanya, go.
Holding the resonance. So, Ashala, I wanted to share something on the, I did a little tarot pull the other day. I did a couple cards for the collective, and I came up with the Tower and the 9 of Cups. Do you want to, do you want to speak to those two cards?
Let me see if I can pull them out while I'm chatting about them. Yeah, so the Tower it's an amazing card because it's like anything that's built out of granite, solid, supposedly. Well, first of all, it looks like just this giant phallus on the card imagery. Here it is, right? Yeah. And it's like, the structure that's never supposed to be destructible, right? It's indestructible. It's built to last. Like, think about it. It's that rigid, uncompromising structure that is about power and dominance. It's about attachment to security, attachment to ego. And then just when you think you've got yourself isolated and elevated in this tower of whatever, security, spirit inevitably, invariably will come along and it'll start, what do they say? It starts by knocking, and then it, gives you a little bit of a nudge. And eventually, if you're not listening, kaboom, comes the lightning bolt. And I always say, when the Tower shows up, it's inviting us to become like bamboo, to become more flexible, to become less power dominant, rigid, fearful, locked into systems of security and lack. So it's a beautiful card. So yeah, we are going through the destruction of that supposedly indestructible thing, like the Titanic that would never sink. Guess what? It's going down. So, but the 9 of Cups is a wish fulfilled.
Who's that? That's on me.
Woo, it's spirit. Not on my end. The Nine of Cups, I'm just seeing if I can find it here, is the wish fulfilled card. So when it shows up in a reading, I always ask people to make a wish. There it is. Make a wish.
Yeah.
Make a wish. This is your moment. The window of possibility is opening in front of you. So the old system of rigidity is crumbling, and let's make a wish about how we want the future to look.
Exactly.
And you know, it's like holding to your dreams. The number nines are about synthesis, and the cups are emotional sort of wholeness, heart. So it's synthesizing all the things that matter to you and holding that dream, making your big wish. Because it's, as the old crumbles, there's space for the new to be born.
Right? You have to let go of things in order for something new to come in, because often our lives are too full, or we're too focused on the external.
Mm-hmm.
And as Norma Jean's been doing very deeply over the last, since I've known her, but even more so, going inward and finding out what makes you tick and how do you want your world to be, and start living that life and stop waiting for external things to shift. This will be our big message for today for everyone as we go into this holiday season. Yeah.
Oh, I've got a big message coming your way very soon.
Yeah.
Sorry, I turned that one in. You know me, I love to stir the pot.
And that's one of the ways that I like to work with the tarot. It's really about self-discovery. You know, I like to say it's like massaging the imagination. It's just letting us sort of open the window and have a look at different perspectives. If there's any kind of absolutism coming through, like it's 100% this, or this is what's going to happen in the future, you know, you're off track a little bit. There is no absolutes. There's no guarantees. Nothing's written in stone. We're not controlling the future here. What we're doing is we're working around the things that need to be brought forward and looked at. If they're scary, we want to bring them forward, you know, with a really safe container, with a lot of compassion, and observe them and prepare to start healing and integrating that scary stuff. And if they're supportive and we're not aware, then we want to bring them forward so we can enjoy them, celebrate them, and embrace them and invite them in. So that's all the years I've been working with tarot. That's how I work with it. And it's extraordinary how, supportive to people's evolutionary journey that is.
Ashala, I got another question.
Go for it.
Another question that I get asked. All right. So I'm throwing the questions that I get asked over to you. All right. With tarot, isn't the only one that can control the future is God? All right. How can tarot read the future?
It can't. It can't.
That's right.
It can't. What it does, it's like, you know, we could say weather is controlled by God. How can the weatherman read the weather? They can't. What they can read is predictable patterns. So it's really like what we're looking at is it. And I always say, we're looking at the moment right now. We read the present. And from the present, we see, based on where we are right now, the most likely potential trajectory of a timeline, just based on where we are right now. So like, you know, you look at the sky with the weather modules and stuff, and it's like, well, that northeasterly is moving that way and doing this and that. And it's like, okay, based on where we are right now, this is where it's most likely going to head. Guess what? If you don't like where it's going, there's always going to be, we look for support to begin to affect that, change that in some positive way towards more of what we want to see. So when you hear readers saying, you know, if they're saying this is what's going to happen, that's a little bit, I wouldn't recommend that. If they're saying this is what could potentially happen, this is where we're likely going if we stay going in this direction, this is kind of the weather forecast. How do you want to work with that? If they give you support in working with that, you know, if it's great weather ahead, then it's just about us going, you know what, let's not sweat it. It's stormy right now, but tomorrow's going to be sunny. If it's challenging weather ahead, we're going to be like, okay, it might not rain, but I'm going to put my raincoat on, right? It's like,
exactly.
so,
You know what, Ashala? I mean, obviously, this has been done again by Hollywood. You know, these movies done to seed mass consciousness. You know, to obviously give tarot a bad name, and also to you see them fortune tellers. They know when what the future holds and all that sort of stuff, and then that's evil and all. So these are the things. It's about breaking down these barriers. I think it's very important moving forward. In this new earth, we need to break down these barriers because don't forget the construct or the man-made construct or religion, okay, has created these stigmas, so to speak. And I think it's a great idea that anyone that wants to ask these kind of questions, don't be shy. Yeah. It's very important that we do break down these barriers and we do get the truth out to you, rather than you believe one side of the coin, so to speak, without finding out what the other one's got to say, and then making a decision based on both sides. That's what I believe.
I agree with you. I want to hear from Tanja Norma. What do you feel about this?
Go ahead, Norma Jean.
Oh, there's so much to cover. So much has already been spoken to on this. So, Ashala, I listen to, how you describe how tarot is used. It's just as important to understand that it's a tool, and it's about the one who's smithing the tool. And in that, it's knowing that you can't predict somebody else's future. However, you can give them a general clue and idea as the choices they can make for their own. Yeah. It's very vitally important, because what you do is you get them to understand, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to let you know you have a choice as to what it is you want to choose to do as far as where your life's concerned. And what that does is it hands back the responsibility of self to them. Yeah. And that's one thing that I want to speak to, is that for any and everybody who has a smithing, so to speak, a way of coming to others to provide them with, their, what's the word I'm looking for? Their practices. Then what it is either a guide or a tool. They can't do it for you. Yeah. They can give you the information needed in order for you, the one coming, to understand how to do it for self. And it's very, very vitally important to understand that responsibility is for self. We have to understand as humans that we have the same capabilities as anyone else we go to. They just only have the knowledge we do not. And in that, then what happens is we can gain the knowledge from them to understand how to do it for self, which in turn gives us a chance and opportunity to understand that we don't have to seek something outside of us other than just to gain the knowledge or the tools or the guides in order to know how to do it for self and only improve at it ourselves. All we must do is merely give ourselves the time to do this, for we are valuable and we are worthy of that, in order to create and become the abundance we seek to know within us, so that we understand it more so about what it represents outside of us. And so it's about self-care. It's about caring about self so much to understand that the mind, body, and spirit work as a trinity. And when you can get them all to come to the center of the mind to have those conversations needed to communicate with one another, how to provide the vessel or the knowledge or, the intake, how to speak with one another, so to speak, and how to do that improves so much of how we come to understand more about who we are, how we feel, what emotions we're going through in in anything else that we have before us because we put it in front of us.
Definitely. You know, it's interesting because I agree. We can do all of this for ourselves. And how is it helpful to go to someone else? What I experience when I go to someone, it's often, you know, I've learned to work with my different tools. Some of it is meditation. There's all different types of practices that I use to communicate with my guides, with Creator, to receive guidance and to feel the alignment of my choices. And there are areas where I'm so emotional and overwhelmed that I need a compassionate, objective support person to interpret for me.
Yes.
And that's where this, and, you know, in a way you can say what we're going through collectively right now, I feel like that's one of the reasons that people are turning to readers, because there is you know, when we're doing our craft, if we're doing it well, there's a compassion and an objectiveness. That's the only way we can get real good information, is to stay open-hearted, objective, and compassionate to all. It's a, you know, and I always tell my students, you know, there's no such thing. Like, I don't consider myself a good reader. I'm pretty sure I can speak for Janine and other professionals that it's like we don't think of ourselves as holier than thou, almighty, you know, oracles or whatever. In fact, every moment that I'm in this service is an act of absolute humility. And if I ever were to get full of myself, the gift would stop.
Yeah.
So it's really about almost just like being a translator and knowing you're only going to translate those quality messages and information that are on that alignment of the heart-centered, power neutral frequency of love. So I always say to my students, have confidence in your intentions, your heart-centered integrity, not in your ability as a reader. At any moment, you can pull the plug and say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know I don't get a feeling. My heart's not feeling it. I can't help with this, you know? And that's, I think, the big difference. It's not an ego-based, like, I know the answers. And whenever people try to put that into my hands and say, you know, often with really good intentions, but they're like, you know, you've helped me so much, or you're a miracle worker. I'm like, no. If you've been helped, that's you, that's your guides. I'm reading your guides' information. I just learned a ton. Like, I've been probably best educated by doing readings for others and receiving all the wisdom of their guides.
Yeah.
Right? It's like
beautiful.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay. I want to ask you a question, Ashala.
Okay.
So just for those who are, because don't forget, you know, we know what guides are, but what are guides? If you can explain it to, obviously, our audience that are listening right now.
This is one of my favorite questions, and it's a little bit tricky. So for me, because I have some of my own opinions and perspectives on what other people would maybe call guides. So I see that there's a lot of ways that Source Creator speaks to us. And I don't know about all of you. I'm sure we've all had the experience where sometimes, you know, you could be out walking in the forest and an animal crosses your path and looks you in the eye, or, you know, you can be walking down the street and a stranger says something to you and it's literally in conjunction with what you were just thinking, or you overhear a conversation. You're like, oh my gosh, I feel like Creator just spoke to me through those people sitting at the table next to me, right? Like, it can be. So the guides to me are whatever is speaking that is in alignment with that heart frequency. So I I don't give names to my guides or to other people's guides. I don't go looking for, oh, everything that's spoken by this being or entity or that guide is the absolute truth. No, I'm not worried as much about the messenger as I am about the quality of the message.
Right.
So when I say the guides, so what I see is it's a whole plethora of different ways that creator is speaking through. Could be animal totems, could be angelic beings, could be ancestors, whatever your personal path is. I feel like everyone has their own unique kind of compendium of guides based on their background, their religion, their values, their beliefs. I don't worry about naming those things. I just look at the quality of the message.
Okay. The other thing is, this is where people mix things up. They say, oh, tarot, clairvoyancy, empath. They can't differentiate between what they all are. So with a clairvoyant, they say, oh, can they read the future? What do they do? How are they different to what you do? If you know what I mean, Ashala.
Yeah, well, to me, it's again about different versions of the same quality. So it's really about divine inspiration, divine communication. And some, different people have different strengths. Some people, it literally is like sound, it's audio. Some people, it's kinetic, an energy or a feeling. Some people, they see images, so that's clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, right? There's so many different versions of ways. It's basically opening up your senses to be in receptivity to the quality of the messages that are going to be beneficial for the greater good of all. So it's, when we start putting all these labels on it and going, ooh, you're a this and don't do that. And you step into that box over there and don't, I have, in my years of work, I've done all those things in different, and I never know what's going to happen. It's like, I don't call myself an anything really, other than a translator and a very neutral, objective, compassionate holder of that quality of heart-centered information. That's what I do.
Okay. That makes perfect sense, because, this is the thing. I mean, that's where it's good to be able to show people and tell people exactly what the differences are, because obviously, when you've been, grown up in a house full of religion, right? In a strict religion, so to speak, what do? You're obviously being told, no, that's all bad. It's all in the same thing, Yeah. It's not. It's different, because I've been to a clairvoyant. I know what they're like. I know what it's all about. Right. And let me tell you, there's things that they tell you that not even no one would have known. Yeah. That this lady knew. She said, and it freaked me out. Let me tell you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What you're referring to is something that is, you could put a label on it. It's kind of like validation. Validation effect, which that's not necessarily, it's hard to say. It's like, that's not necessarily the sign of a good reader, but sometimes people will come into whatever a session, and in the beginning, in order to feel like they call it, the real deal. I don't agree with that. I just think it's about a person receiving that message, like you say, that's so obviously, clearly something that no one could have known. I remember I had this lady years ago. I've had a lot of people who said, oh my gosh, I don't know how you could have known that. But I remember I had this one lady, and she was absolutely convinced that I had gone and done days of research on her before I did this session. It was so cute. I was like, my dear, first of all, I'm so not that person. I haven't even been on Facebook till 2020. And I just couldn't even fathom how would I even find out that stuff about you? And I think that people, in order to feel like they're really getting a communication with creator, with their guides, sometimes they need some kind of real validating little gems of information, and then they open their hearts. So yeah, it's I always say to go with what you're feeling energetically. If it feels like it's supportive and it opens your imagination and opens you to feel expansive and more possibilities and more options to make creative choices in your life, then that is an awesome reading. If it makes you feel scared and blocked and anxious, yeah, you probably want to steer clear of that.
Yeah, no, when I went, it was I was good 10 years ago, for a while, and she said things that no one would know. Right? No way. You wouldn't be able to find it anywhere in Facebook, let me tell you that much. No way. Because I went there in the mindset, this is all going to be a bunch of bullshit, right? Okay. That's why I went with that mindset.
Yeah.
But after that reading and after what she said, it was like, gee, how would you know all this stuff when it's not even on anywhere? You know what I mean? How could you possibly know? And then, you start to think, differently. That's when you start looking into things, and because I grew up in a very religious household, right? And I used to question it a lot, and the priests, because I studied theology, I would ask the priest questions. He didn't like it. Right? I used to ask my father questions. My mother, they didn't like it either, because I would go against the grain. I was like the so-called black sheep of the family, and I used to question everything from day dot, so to speak. And that's how I've always been. And I've always challenged things and all that, because to me, I feel like I am an old soul. I have been here quite a few times. Okay, and I'm here for a reason, and I know what my purpose is now, and I know this is it, what I'm doing right now. So that's why I've as I said, I grew up in a very religious household, and I've drifted away from all that because it didn't resonate with me.
Yeah.
But it's been a process. Don't get me wrong. Don't forget, you're talking about someone that was, indoctrinated.
Yeah.
And then you had to have these icons and all that displayed and all that sort of stuff because they told you that's the way to do it. And then when you come to a realization that this has all been, it's not, it didn't resonate. So yeah, that's where I am at this point right now, and I've been letting go, but it's a process. It is a process, because don't forget, there are things that, how can I say, you start disassembling things, and then your kids start saying, "Oh, what's wrong with him?" You know what I mean? He's pulling the Christmas tree down. He's taking down icons. He's doing this. He's doing that. They're going to start asking questions. My daughter's at an age now where she knows. I've actually sat down and spoke to her, but my son obviously is 13, and you know what I mean. And I'm just trying to do things in a way where it's going to be organic, if you know what I mean, rather than just dramatic. Yeah. Yeah,
totally. I'm curious, Tanja, what's your experience been like with, how did you get turned on to this?
So I had, my girlfriend recommended I go see an intuitive medium. And I sat down, and so she closes her eyes and she makes notes. So the way she gets her messages. And she came back and she opens her eyes and she looks at me and she goes, "This is not a normal reading." I'm like, what the heck does that mean? I don't know what that means, because I never do a reading. I don't know. Tell me more. And so, she nailed every trauma in my life and these points, right? Something happened at this age and da-da-da-da-da. And then something happened at this age, and nobody knows this stuff, right? So then like FCBs, it's like, okay, there's something to this. Yeah. And so to have a conversation, and she's like, "You got a big ask in front of you, girl. Get going." Wow. So it was good because it made me tap in a bit more to it. Okay, there has to be something to this. And so then it's just kind of grown from there. Doing Reiki helps you to understand energy. I've done the quantum, that helps. I've done freedom from self-sabotage. So I am a learner. I was Mind Valley. I was a master certified trainer for Mind Valley. So I got to work with all their teachers. And so you begin to identify with, okay, now I know me better. I know who I am. I know what makes me tick. And I always say that in this time and space, like right now, what I think, and people want me to predict something out, I'm like, I can't. I can tell you what would happen if it was right now, but the energies are moving so quickly right now. And right, like you cannot predict. I'm sorry. Like people say, 2024 is going to be this. I'm like, I don't know. I think we're moving way too fast. I think we're going to launch into that way sooner, but let's see. Right.
Yeah.
So just being really comfortable in the unknown. Been fine up until now. So like a little kid, like, I wonder what's going to happen next. Just ready for anything.
Definitely. It's interesting. All the time that I've been doing this, I've noticed sometimes, well, for one thing, I really was shown earlier on as I was learning how it wasn't about what my opinion was about anything. It was really about what was tailor-made for that individual at that moment. So I'd have someone come in and ask advice about something, and the advice that would come from their guides was one path, one direction as a positive possibility. And the next person, like literally right after that, was the same or a similar question. And the advice was the opposite, direction. And I'd be like, oh, what's happening here? Like, this is so wild. But I realized it was about showing me that what's right for one person in one moment is not necessarily right for everybody. And it's very individually specific, tailored for, the time. And also, this is something that people do get really frustrated with, myself included, is that sometimes what is predicted or seen as a possibility doesn't happen at all the way it was seen. And what I've been shown over time is that it was a necessary perspective that helped me through that particular juncture. So I needed to hear it that way at that time. And then when I got a little more involved, I could hear it a little bit more like this. And it wasn't that one was wrong. There's always infinite possibility of the way things can happen. It's just like, I see it like stepping stones across a river, like what's Tanya's next stepping stone going to be? What's, we're each going to have our important stepping stone. For some people right now, it feels really important that they just slow down and say, miles to go. This can take as long as we need it to. And for other people, it's kind of like, come on, let's get going. Wake up. It's like, and everything in between, right?
Right.
Yeah. Ashala, there's a question there for you, love. By Flo and Nanny. And Tanya, I know you answered it, so I thought I'd just throw it Ashala's way as well. I have a question, if it can be answered. A reader we went to years ago refused to read my sister. What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, refused to read the sister. All right, so I'll tell you how I would approach that, or the very few times that that's happened to me. I think that it's probably a good thing. If for whatever reason I'm getting something energetically blocked or conflicted, I will always pull the plug and say, I'm not going to do that. That does not mean there's something wrong with that person. What it means is that I'm not making a good connection. You know what I'm talking about? It's like I'm not, it's not aligning for me. And why would I go any further with that? If, however, there was a sense of, fear, shame, judgment associated with that, I would say that is probably, you're looking at a reader that maybe isn't in full alignment within themselves, and they're having a lot of fear come up, and they're projecting that out to others. So either way, it's not anything about you or your sister, is what
Have you ever come across a situation like that, Ashala?
A very few over my whole career of like over 20 years. There's been a few instances where I feel like I can't get anything, and there's usually been good reasons for that. However, there's also been lots of times where we're not supposed to look at that right now, for whatever reason. That happens regularly. And I always see it as a real blessing. Like there's something is being sort of held back because knowing it at this juncture wouldn't be beneficial for everybody involved. So it's not to worry.
Yeah.
It's not to worry about. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Ashala, can we get a collective read?
Yes.
Holiday season. That would be wonderful.
What would you like it about, Tanja?
The holiday season for the next week.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. You know, I just want to say something. I'm about to fill my soul sampler after we're done here too. And I've been noticing, I don't know if you've all noticed this as well, but there's something really strange this year about the way the holidays have fallen on the weekends. Like, because a lot of people aren't getting any time off during the week. So it's kind of like, you know, like I'll normally have Sunday, Monday off. Well, I've got Sunday, Monday off. And then Monday, I was like, okay, woohoo, big holiday. So everybody's like, what are you doing for your holidays? I'm like, what I do every week, go back to work after 2 days off, you know? And I think there's something happening where people, because we're not having the usual amount of time off because it's happening on the 2 weekends, we're being a little bit like compressed through this Mercury retrograde. Yeah, like, so we've got the Temperance angel staying balanced, but also, when I was just coming onto the call and I tuned in to receive a message about this today and what we were going to be sharing, I heard hurry up and wait.
Yes. That seems very fitting in my opinion. Yeah.
It's like, chillax, but go back to work. Take time for yourself, but help everybody else. It's like, okay. So I'll lay out some cards here and see. Put this screen down a little bit. Maybe you can see what I'm doing. Yeah. Past, present. Oh, beautiful. Near future. Oh my goodness. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay. So, you know, we've got number 6 cards, which is harmony, service, sharing, random acts of kindness. I want to say, you know, we've got the only 2 major arcana here are the Fool and the Hermit. So even though we don't have a lot of time off, it's kind of like we're going to make the most of every moment. It's also important to take a little solitude. So there's a lot of sharing, a lot of processing. Look at this, 6 of Swords, like conversations, communication. I get almost like this bubbly excitement energy with a lot of people over the holidays, but we need a little bit of quiet. And because the holiday times feel a bit compressed this year because of where the holidays are falling, it might be hard to have that downtime or alone time. It's interesting. I'm also getting a feeling that there's something about extending our celebration and our feeling of rest and recuperation over the next 3 weeks. So it's not just like that holiday week, because it's not really lining up this year to have that. It feels like we're going to extend into like, let's give ourselves extra time over the 2 weeks into January, the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, that first week, I think all the kids, if I'm right, all the kids are off anyway. So that is the 2-week break. So yeah. So I think a lot of people have taken that time off. So that first week will definitely be a little quieter. Absolutely.
Good. That's really, really important. That's really good. And yeah, I want to say overall,
because they're in the chat, I say, was that Biden hanging upside down? I love that one.
Right?
Charlie, yeah, that laugh.
Well, okay. Remember, I just said we don't get to know about that. Miles to go, but the next 3 weeks looks full of reasons to celebrate. Let's just say that.
Well, it makes perfect sense, Ashala, because as soon as January hits, in the first few days, they're going to release the Epstein people have been responsible. So 117, as you know, Q. Yeah, so there are a lot of reasons to celebrate, right? Because there's going to be justice.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
But also validation as well, because a lot of people been, obviously it's been a very tiresome journey, as you can probably imagine, and people just want to see something, and that is something that's tipping in our favor, which is great. Yeah.
I've been really encouraging people who are getting discouraged by the timing of things to notice what is happening. Because there's a lot of focus on this hasn't happened yet, that hasn't happened yet, that hasn't happened yet. But let's talk about what has happened.
Exactly.
Like I've seen tremendous shifts. What about you? What about you, Norma and Tanya?
I know there's been tremendous shifts in me. I mean, enormous shifts. And a lot of that has to do is because I do set aside the time needed to gain the knowledge that helps assist in that. And it's been profoundly beautiful for me. And in that, the more that I know that I come to those places within myself, I mean, just the exploration is so much fun for me. And it's like when you decide to, when you have enough epiphanal moments, you're going to hit to a point where a spark's going to take place and you're going to want to know more. And that's just who I am and how I am. And it's like, oh, give me more, because I want to know. This is a great feeling. This is fun. This is experiential. Oh my, because it's like, I am this. I am so much this and more. So I know if there's more, it's like, I'm going to make sure I set aside that time. I'm going to make sure I have that silent moment so I can sit and I can let the information that I've gained over this to really settle within me to become even of a deeper understanding for me, where when I go out here and I interact with others or I'm around others, I know exactly what I'm seeing. I know exactly what it is that I need to be for, within self, to know what type of mirror do I want to be for others, knowing that there is this seesaw effect going on right now. So as that takes place, I just want to know, what am I being in contrast to what is taking place? And in that, how do I shift it in knowing my being?
Yeah, totally. Yes.
And I just want to also share that during these times to be aware. So we've got Sugar Bee sharing in the chat that she had a visual of the road actually moving as she was at a red light. And I'm like, that's happening for people. That's one of the gifts, whether it's your eyes and you're seeing things out of the corner of your eyes, or you see Norma Jean sees my cat that's passed away all the time in the house. I'm like, cool. He's still hanging out. So we all have different gifts, whereas I have more of a knowing, or I don't know, there's this fresh turmeric with my drink, right? It's got the turmeric in it. And I'd pick some up at a farmer's market. I was like, oh, I really want more of that fresh turmeric. And I started looking online, and then I kind of forgot about it. And I'm like, but I really want more of that. I went to the store that I've been shopping at for 18 years, and they have never had fresh turmeric. And they had fresh turmeric. I was like, so it's celebrating even just those little wins right?
Yes.
And being really observant of even the clouds, like, oh, what's going on with the clouds today, or the stars, right? To be really observant and curious, again, like that childlike wonder, whether you're exploring something, do what brings you joy. And do it, right? This is where we need to be right now. Instead of focusing on the external that's not happening fast enough for us, what can I control and what can I do? And where's the joy in that?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, and I've been, the readings over these last, 2 or 3 months, but especially in the last 2 or 3 weeks have been so much about, people. It's almost like instead of it being this big fight out there on the front line, I mean, we're always going to take time to go and show up on that revolution, right? Be part of the revolution. However, if we give all our energy to that, there's not a lot left over for the real effect that we can have in our immediate reality, which is with our own family. Well, first of all, within ourselves, and then next within our closest, relations, and with the work that we're doing in our personal lives. And the other piece that so many people have come to me with is, they're waiting for the RV, they're waiting for all of these things to happen so that they can enact their projects and start living this new paradigm and living this. And what I've gotten all the way along is, don't wait. We can do it. We can start now. We can lay the foundation. Like, what steps can you take? Even if it's just planning, even if it's, starting a small collaborative version of what you want it to grow into. It really feels like this energy of build it and the support will come, and it will come from a variety of different sources. We don't need to rely on one single source. We're manifesting creative beings. Once we're engaged in our creative flow and collaboratively, open-heartedly creating from that place, support will come. It'll come from all different corners of the universe.
Absolutely. And so we can manifest things now. You can. But what is important is to remember it's your resonance, it's your frequency, it's your belief that you deserve it and can have it. So it does take a little extra intention. It's not that you focus on it all the time, because now you're focused on, I don't have it, I don't have it. It is that you think about it, wish for it, and then let it go. Like, I totally forgot about that. And I was like, there it is.
There's the teamwork.
And I was like, oh, cool. And then that brings me like into this joyous elation. And it's something so small, and when things start moving forward in another, you celebrate that, because that is your resonance and you're building up your frequency, which means now you're operating at a different level. And therefore, if you can maintain that, you're now going to attract more and more and more of what you want. It's when we sit in those lower energies and our frequency is doom, gloom, sadness, frustration, and anger. Well, you're going to have a really hard time manifesting anything but that, because that's where you are. So this is probably the most important thing as we go into these holidays. And then once you get your resonance up, you kind of want to protect it a little more. And so that's why when I'm in public settings where I know other people are there and we may have a difference of opinion, I'm very protective of my energy. I will observe. I will not. I won't take it on. Because once you have I had a really good statement the other day from someone. Once you have an expectation of somebody outside of you behaving a specific way, you've now opened up your energy for them to take it and drain it. So it's really important to not put that expectation on anyone else. So now we're just going to observe. Everyone's having their own experience, right? We can't convince somebody to be the way we want them to be, because that's our belief. It's not their belief. And that's probably the most important thing about going over to the holidays.
Yes. Beautiful. Oh, I love that so much. That's such a good reminder, expectation, and I want to say dramatization, like, even within the truther community, like, is it possible that we can, first of all, observe how much is going right? Like, I can tell you, I've been on the truther path for decades, literally decades, 3, 4. And I'm just like blown away. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're awakening. We're awakening. This is happening. Back when I was first doing this, nobody was awake. So it's all relative, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, this is happening.
Miracles abound.
You're worried about it's happening faster than you can like just rolling, right? We're rolling.
Right.
We're rolling in it. And so keep your eye on what's happening, what's evolving. And in this last 3 or 4 years that I've been working mostly with people who are awake, I've just seen such growth and transformation. I've seen such courage, such wisdom, enlightenment, passion, activation. Like, people are getting down to business. They're not waiting. Like, most of my clients are like, what do I do? Where do I sign? Let's get going on this, like, and so to me, even though we don't necessarily have the outer reflection, we want the validation. We want to be like, yeah, it's happening. It's all over the news. Everything's out in the open. And we want that full scale validation. Why do we need that? We know what's happening. It's happening. It's happening, folks. Believe me, it is happening. Because I'm talking every week with people all over the world, and they are amazing. And they've gotten so strong and so empowered and self-directed, even in the face of a lot of personal crises and loss. So if we can be strong now, it's, this is the game changer. And just like so many people in the truther community, visionaries are saying, we've got to prove it to ourselves first. Right. We got to prove it to ourselves. It was interesting. Just before I came on this call, I was doing a reading for a gentleman, super awesome, awake gentleman. And he was telling me about his son and how his son was, sort of depending on him. He was a grown man with wife and children, but he was still kind of depending on his dad. And finally, the dad sort of cut him loose a little bit financially and said, you got to do this yourself, son, because I'm not always going to be here. And, but of course, underneath that is this big heart, which, he's not going to let him really fall on his face. But just that act of you got to do it yourself first was enough to kind of give that son a jump start. And he's doing it. He's like, he took that initiative and he's really empowering himself. So at the end of the reading, it came around to this fellow, and that was exactly what his guides were saying around what's going on, in our revolution, where it's like, in a way, the white hats are like the dad that are going, well, I'm here for you. Like, I'm going to catch you, but like, let's see you do some stuff for yourself first, right? It's like, get on out there, little kiddies, and show us that you're big grown-ups, and let's get happening. And, it's here. It's right. The base is there, but somehow if we can't be in our own initiative empowered, when it comes, we would fall back into that powered relationship, that power dynamic of, daddy, big, like, parent, help me, save me. We have to prove to ourselves that we can do it.
Yeah.
And so many of the visionary truthers throughout all of this process have been saying that, including me right from the beginning. So it's not a punishment. And look at what's happening. We are doing it. We are. Look for the evidence. Don't look for the evidence that we're not, is what I've been doing.
What you focus on, you get more of.
It's all about perspective.
Right? Yeah. And
what you got in front of you.
Right. Mm-hmm. And Ashala, I just want to mention to everyone too, the website's down below, ioftheworld.ca. And you have a special on until Christmas Day?
Yeah, it's basically midnight of December 25th. So like December 26th at 1 a.m. it'll be over. But it's a 25% off all readings.
Awesome. And what is the cost of a reading? Can you share the pricing?
The 1 hour reading is 145 Canadian.
Yeah.
And a half hour reading is 90 Canadian. So I think it works out to be like 109 Canadian for the hour and 70 or something
Perfect.
like that for the half hour.
So there you go. It's extremely reasonable, just so you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
Yeah. Yeah. And you can also do Ancestral, which I've done. Very beautiful. And you can also teach as well.
I teach the tarot. I've got a free masterclass on my website. You can find as soon as you go on there to the homepage. And then I've got classes starting in January. Another series of 6 weeks of level 1. And it's not just about the tarot. It's about learning to, tune in with your own intuition.
Absolutely. And the only way you get to tune in is getting quiet, guys.
Oh, yeah.
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 Turning off the external of it. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. Do we want to start to wrap up? FCB, how's it going over there?
Sorry. I've been working on the background. Sorry. Being guilty as charged. I've been listening. Don't worry. I've been listening to what
Ashala's done a great job. Beautiful.
Right?
Oh, y'all are amazing.
Yeah.
Look, I just got to say this is that it's about breaking down the barriers, breaking down the myths, and showing what's true. That what tarot is all about, and what we're doing here is empowering people with knowledge.
Yeah.
And I just want people to have an open mind. I think that's what it's all about, having an open mind moving forward.
Yeah. Hear, hear.
Exactly.
It's a great time to definitely utilize this holiday time to see what you're capable of, see what you're willing to see about self, that to present that challenge to you, that shows you the change that you say that you want to see in this world, to be presented to self first. For in order to see it in the world, you must see it in self first.
Totally.
So go out here and be joyous, be grateful, and be appreciative of this time with the ones that you do love, for they love you. And at this point in time, it's about just having that gathering. In that gathering, we can find connections on any given level. If as that time goes by, as to while we're listening, how are we hearing? So everyone, please enjoy this time.
Yes.
No matter what it takes, enjoy this time for self.
Yes.
This is a gathering time, and this will lead to more gatherings, and brighter and greater and even more profound celebrations.
Beautiful.
Celebration time. Oh yeah. Gonna celebrate and have it. I began songs like crazy dropped on me out of nowhere. I'm like, what?
Oh, yay.
But yeah, there's some pretty funny ones where I'm like, I don't even know what that song is. And then I have to go listen to it. Yeah, it's pretty entertaining. Yeah. And I would just like to share with everyone that we're so grateful for Ashala. She's going to be coming on quite regularly on Soul Tribe. And we will be bringing in the other presenters. So you'll see that it'll be different people. It won't always be us. And in that way, we encourage you all to write your questions in and talk about what's going on for you and share your stories. This is Soul Tribe. And so we will have open calls at some point. So it'll be really mixed up. So make suggestions on what you would like to see on here and how you would like it to be. This is for you. Tonight was an introductory and a beautiful one at that. Yeah. Just to introduce. And I just want to wish everyone happy holidays. And if you're going to react to somebody over the holidays, try just biting the tip of your tongue and just wait a few minutes, take some deep breaths, step outside if you need to, wait and respond, because I always ask what would love do in this situation? And it's usually not attack. So just a thought to keep you, if you need a little help staying maintaining your energy and holding in your power, so to speak. And we're around over the holidays. So I know FCB's live on Christmas Day. We're on tomorrow evening.
Both Christmases, Australian and So today's our
That's right.
Christmas Eve, actually.
It was Christmas Eve.
Oh my gosh.
Jade says to me today, Merry Christmas Eve Eve. I'm like,
I don't know. It'll be Merry Christmas after what I have to release today.
yeah.
No, mate. It's coming out. I'm taking it out of its cage again.
All right. Awesome. Well, that'll be a little bit later, and I'll be jumping on with you for a bit. So,
Yeah.
Ashala, you want to wrap it up?
Yes, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure. I wish you all blessings and for you and all your relations, all your family and friends. I had one more little message that came in, which was about when you were saying, Tanya, you know, what do we do when we want to lash out or something? And I had pulled two cards. One was a lashing out card, and then I pulled a second card, and it was sing and dance. So, you know, just go lock yourself away somewhere and just let loose and sing and dance for a minute or two and move that energy, because that's another thing I've been noticing for myself, my friends, family, other truthers, is that we're finding our way, like we get off, you know, off balance or out of gear, and it starts to be a lament, and we're either feeling despair or like attack or frustration, but we're finding our way back into attunement faster and faster, and less time spent over there, like, you know, swirling in chaos. So the guides are just saying, all of our guides are saying, embrace the moment, just, you know, activate, move that energy, sing and dance a little.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes it much easier. All right, you guys, we love you
So
very
much,
much.
everyone. Blessings to you all.
See you soon, everybody.